Like, I don't think he expresses much affection physically.
I don't like when people start having intense kisses.
If your relationship is strong in the home, you don't have to feel needy and clingy in public. Like, I need this to know that you love me.
Public display of affection, I'm okay with holding hands. Even if it is a kiss, maybe a kiss on the cheek. Wow. Welcome back to another episode on Happily Ever After with the Raj family. Today we have another topic under our interracial marriage, and that is specific to public display of affection. Not affection, public display of affection, because affection, we all know that it has to be there within a relationship, within a marriage, and there is an affection all over the world. Everyone has their way of showing their affection, and how it all entails, most people know about it. But this is more specific to public display of affection. What was your understanding about Indians with public display of affection?
I really didn't know much until I met you, basically. And my perspective was that they are not very affectionate. Like, they're more reserved, even within their own marriage. That's how I felt. So I was like, yeah, I mean, each marriage has their own way of affection, but at the same time, I was like, I don't think there's that much expression of love. And I was like, that's not necessarily what I feel comfortable with. Like, to be so reserved and so, like, cold for me was cold and lack of that expression of love. So that's what I thought it was. And I think I was kind of right, because how is it in Indian culture, the affection in general expressed between a couple?
Definitely people do show affection, not as much as how they do it in the US, but there is certain ways. Before, like if you go to 80s, 90s, people don't show affection outside the house. It is more within the family, inside the house, and yeah, as private as it is supposed to be for the most part.
Like, how about couples holding hands or hugging for a picture, or like nothing too much, but is that common to see couples walking holding hands or things like that in India?
Yeah, so growing up, it was not so much, but later on, I would say, I think maybe also it was because of the movies influences. People do hold hands while they are walking outside and all of that. I'm talking about the majority. Of course, there are unique cases where people hold hands, very unique outside, but majority was not. But then later on, they were growing into that type of mindset to show affection. And of course, we are trying to talk about affection in general, not just about doing more stuff. That is not the point here. But to show affection, yes, like holding hands or hugging has become part of the country now, but it never used to be like that. And I don't think even now in many places it's that openly done. There are couples that walk together, you know they are together. And during my school days, high school days, we did conclude when a guy and a girl walk together, we know that they are in a relationship.
Just walking together, not even holding hands.
Yeah, holding hands was a big no-no at that time.
Okay, so just walking together, they're in a relationship. Together.
That is what we would think.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean they are in a relationship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is what we would think. Because it has been a big taboo for a guy and a girl to talk freely, and makes it even worse when you are walking and talking. And so I also have heard people say that the husbands walk in the front and wives walk in the back. I don't know. Honestly, maybe that might have happened. I have not seen anyone do it like that. It's usually they are together. They don't necessarily hold hands or kiss each other or hug each other. None of that I have seen in public setting.
Okay. Yeah, so I just didn't know much about the culture, and just looking, sometimes I kind of stalked him in his Facebook and things, and he would stand very straight and like act very formal even in any picture I would see, not necessarily very connected. So I was like, I don't think he expresses much affection physically, like even in a good context. So I was like, I'm not sure if we get into a relationship, how that part would be. And what did you think about me before we started the relationship?
The crazy thing is, I thought about you in the same level. I was like, she is probably not going to show any type of affection. She's going to be in her own world. Even if we are in the same, let's say after marriage, if we are in the same room, she's going to be doing her own thing, busy with her own stuff. And there is not going to be much of that reaction. However, when I noticed you, when you were watching a video of you and your brother when you were kids singing, that gave me an idea as to who you actually were, because you were very expressive and showing your expression for your brother when he was a little kid.
I don't even remember the video.
I think it's on your Instagram.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Singing, right? So I was like, oh, so Debbie does have emotions. Debbie does show her affection. Because for me, it was like a lot of countries are too forward and too much into showing stuff in the public. And I didn't like that type of mindset. I don't like that type of mindset, because holding hands, I was okay with that because of Hollywood movies influence. I was okay with that. And watching movies, again, there is pros and cons to it. So one of the pros was
it
seeing
wasn't
that
so foreign, like you were
yeah.
okay with that.
But I don't like when people start having intense kisses and being inappropriate in public. That was something that I was worried about other nationalities besides Indians, because I'm not into it. And for me, certain things have to be private, certain things have to be public, can be in public. And the public display of affection, I'm okay with holding hands. Even if it is a kiss, maybe a kiss on the cheek. Wow.
My influence of English mistakes sometimes.
Or a little peck on the lip. That's it. Not being so intense and not being too often in that. So that is something that I am okay with. But with you, initial thoughts were like, oh, she probably is not going to show so much affection. But then after seeing you watch that video, you were showing more affection. So that changed in my mind.
That's so interesting, because I guess we both were kind of like, I don't think this person is very affectionate.
Yeah.
And so we were both not very I don't know,
Not
thrilled
settled with
about that. But the more we saw each other interact with even others in a respectful way, but a caring way, we saw there's potential. And so, yeah. The interesting thing is that growing up, my mom would always tell me, like, you are not really into physical expression of affection, or what is it? One of the love languages is physical touch, right?
Yeah.
She was like, you're not into that at all. Even when I was little, my mom says that she would kiss me, or she was very both my parents are very expressive physically with kisses and hugs and everything. And she said that I kind of didn't really feel that comfortable. So she stopped and she would do it more with my brother, that he felt more comfortable with that. And so growing up, I always felt like I was okay without too much physical touch and affection. But whenever I would think, well, before going there, and plus later on, my mom would share, growing up, to be careful with people that inappropriately might want to, take advantage of kids, whatever. So it kind of made me even more like rejecting that and being very
sense.
careful.
Yeah.
So from other girls and things, I felt a little more comfortable hugging in this. With guys, very respectful, but even from growing up as a kid, as a teenager, anyone that would try to be too, it was like, come on, no. And even with my dad and my brother, I think with my mom was the one I felt most comfortable, like a kiss. With my brother, it was like, I don't know, it was just awkward. Like, we could hug and we could talk, but then anything else was like not too much. So I was really, even sometimes I questioned myself, how would I be as a wife? How would I be as a mother? Like, how would it be? Because I just felt I wasn't as open to all of that. It was a little too much, and different people, some are really into physical connection and expression. Others are more reserved, and that's just personality as well. But I just felt like more reserved, and I even became more by knowing things and trying to protect myself. And later on, after I also decided, I really want to wait for my husband, then even more I wanted to be like guarded. So I was like, how is that really gonna work? But I realized that after we were in a relationship, and always when I really would be with my husband, I would envision it being very physically expressive, with hugs, with kisses, like be free to show that affection. Like, I felt deep inside I wanted it, just because of, I don't know exactly what. I had become like not really needing it growing up. I felt I didn't need that much to feel loved. I could feel love. Give me a note and I'm fine, but don't try to hug me and kiss me too much, because that's a little too much for me. But then in our relationship and now in our marriage, I find it that I love it so much. And even my mom, when we went to visit them and I was just kissing Martin, just while we were cooking or this and that, she was like, wow, she really loves you. Because not even in my family I was like that. But now I feel it has changed. Like, all of those hindrances and trying to be guarded, and I don't know, because it was since little. But I feel it has bloomed in a beautiful way in our relationship. And and by the way, he was not as reserved and cold. He was super warm, and another world that I was like, whoa, I didn't even know an Indian could be like this. Or that he, with how I perceive him, could be like this. So
yeah, for me, again, I have always been expressive, like within our family as well. I've been always expressive. We all have been expressive, in fact. But for me, the turning point was when your parents were like, wow, she definitely loves you. This is in the beginning of our relationship. They came to visit you, and we were spending that time together for Christmas and New Year. And when they were about to leave, they were sharing that she's really showing more affection, and she really loves you. We can see that based on how she's acting around you. So I was feeling very special about that, and I was praising God. All right, praise God that this girl is interested in me as much as I am interested in her. And of course, after we got into relationship and we started showing our expressing our interest to each other and showing our affection, that made it even better. And that broke all the stories that I have made up in my mind, like, oh, she's gonna be too cold, she's gonna not express anything. But then you started expressing, we were hugging, and I'm really thankful for that. And after marriage, Now, even more like I still remember your mom sharing that Debbie really loves you because she never let us kiss her that much or anything, and here she's expressing so much to you and all of that. So I guess I won the jackpot.
I guess a good relationship. I mean, I had a good relationship with my parents, but there were definitely some blockages with my father growing up, that I didn't feel as close and connected. So physically for me comes after emotionally, spiritually, and everything else aligns. And some things I think were a little not as connected with my father. With my mother, we had a more emotional connection, and so I was a little more open to her. With my brother, we were like best friends, but I still felt like I just don't want it that too much. But with our relationship and marriage, I've sensed God basically connected us in so many levels, so deep, and with so much security and respect, and just so beautiful and pure that it has basically healed many different areas from my past or circumstances that I kind of wanted to walk away from or protect myself from or whatever it might be, and who knows what, because I mean, I love affection, but since I was a little girl, my mom says that, I kind of was not so comfortable with it, so I have no clue why. Only God knows why. But one thing I know, that no matter if we know things that happen or we are unaware of why we make certain decisions in our life, God can heal and bring a fuller potential that we didn't even know we had. And I think that's just so beautiful, when there's that safe space and that Christ love and pure affection. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, and also to emphasize the point, one thing that you shared is that first there has to be other connections come in, and then the physical connection, even if it is a kiss, the emotional connection has to be there, and then the spiritual connection and several other things that has to work, because many times in general the physical connection comes first in the world. That comes, and then they try to fix everything, putting together. And I think women connect more first emotionally, if I'm right, and then they are open for physical connection. But then sometimes things go a different direction, and then they try to find the emotional connection, but that's not
It's very complicated, because you start from the opposite side, which is not how God intended. Now that I understand the process and the beauty, like God made us so holistically that emotional, spiritual, and physical, they all align. But if you start with physical, it brings more of the lustful, more of the superficial chemical reactions, not necessarily the spiritual component. But if it comes after all the other ones, then it's included with spiritual and emotional, and it makes the physical so much more beautiful and pure, instead of just temporary passion. So it's just so amazing how God created it to be, and how it's intended to really nourish our souls, the whole experience. Like each component is valuable, and God made them all to be together. And I think that's why so many times, even in marriages, the physical component of our relationship is more like, like it's not as meaningful, or it becomes like a routine, or it becomes, because if the other areas are not nourished, then it's going to be very hollow. If the other ones are strong, then it's like that's just the cherry on top of the cake that adds to it, but it's not the foundation whatsoever. So we have it all upside down in the world. Satan has tried to lead us from the wrong entering wedge for relationships, and it just blocks spiritual growth and emotional growth truly. because we think we have an emotional connection because of the physical, but actually it's not very deep.
Yeah.
And it's not lasting. And it's hard to build on the other ones because you start from the wrong side that leads to a completely different destination.
Yeah, and that could be the case why people, when they are outside, they are more prone to how do I say it? They are more prone to having the physical connection more than the solid foundational emotional connection. And of course, everyone has their own way of connecting with each other, and I think this has something to do with it. Maybe not. We don't know. If you say anything, if you want to say anything about it, please feel free to put in the comment section. How do you see this public display of affection? Is it something that is coming along with your family, like as a couple, and you're open to show that display of affection in public, or is there something lacking in the house, and that is what, or how do I put it? There is something lacking in the house, and you're trying to do something outside to make it match it, look like
your
it.
point.
So that's again everyone's way of reasoning. For me, public display of affection, hugging, a little peck. That's it.
Holding
not
hands.
more than that. Yeah, holding hands. But I'm fine with that. I'm fine with as much as that is there, because I don't want to become awkward, because that will make me awkward. Even if someone else is doing stuff like that in the public, like more stuff in public, it makes me feel awkward and I shy away from the place.
And I think I also don't like extra public display of affection, because some things is more personal for the couple, and I think that's fine, to keep it that way. But if some feel more free, I think you just have to consider as well, the surroundings, the location, like whatever it is, and some things are appropriate in some ways and not really fitting in other settings. But, and as well, the different roles, like, I think, for example, if you're working together, I personally believe that keeping professionalism is also important. So not be like lovey-dovey when you're in work time, and many work don't even allow married couples to work together, but in other instances, you might have to do it in different settings or at church or whatever you work together. So you can be, as a couple, you don't need to act like strangers, but also with appropriateness. Some people are like all on top of each other in situations that is like, hey, we're having a meeting, or this is not your home. And so I think I never liked couples that are too intense in maybe the church or in meetings when, it's not the moment for like a date or something. So I try to be careful and also connect with others around and not be so absorbed in each other that others feel left out. And yeah, I think there's different ways. If your relationship is strong in the home, you don't have to feel needy and clingy in public. Like, I need this to know that you love me. You can be more free, and it's okay. At the same time, I do think that there's a beautiful thing of couples that try to be together and act like a couple and not like strangers. Like, they don't even want to be with each other because it's like, I'm married, but I don't want to show that I'm really married. So I think it's very important to, so this is other side notes that kind of go linked with the public.
Yeah, it definitely has an impact there, because some people want to have that public display of affection to find their security, and some people are open, they are secure, they know how it is and how their relationship is, and they are very secure in the relationship. And we have encountered some people who have that type of issues, like, this person is just walking away from me and he or she is not showing their affection in public, or at least holding my hand or walking together. They are just doing their own thing, and here I am by myself. So that also shows that there is a sensitive areas where both parties need to be on the same place, same mindset. Yes, they can have a certain public display of affection, or they don't have to. But again, it is up to each couple.
Yeah.
They decide whether they want to have that or not in their relationship, in their marriage, however.
So definitely, I think this is not necessarily so unique to our cultures, but more to us as individuals, and then making it part of
I
our
mean,
marriage. Even though
culture does have an impact. Like, you cannot go and be all expressive in public in India. That's definitely frowned upon. You can definitely hold hands. You can definitely, I don't know, I've never seen anyone kiss in public in India, except for
The wedding.
Parents and children. Huh?
or the wedding or something,
The wedding also, I've never seen.
they don't kiss.
No, it's more like exchange of rings. Again, these are what I have observed. I have noticed. Not that I have been to every single wedding, they might have kissed. I don't know, but what
So-
I am used to, they don't kiss in the weddings.
Outside your family, like your parents, or between parents and children, you don't really see people kissing
No,
at any.
no, no. You don't see it.
Only in
And
the movies or photo shoots, or not even that.
Usually, if they are doing it, it is frowned upon. It is not appreciated in public. You do anything you want in private, but don't come out in public and do those things. So it is definitely not seen as an appropriate thing, even if it is just a kiss on the cheek.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, but if parents are kissing their children in public, that's fine.
I'm not talking about parents and children at all. This is about relationships and marriages.
Okay. So for kids it's fine, but even between parents on public is not fine. Like if a husband
That is
kisses
not seen as an appreciated thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that is a big cultural difference.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying
Because-
that culture has an influence.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Very, very different. I mean, here you get married and everyone is clinging the things, like kiss and kiss and kiss. And in South America, it's open. Like, it's up to the individual. That's why I was saying it's up to the person what they decide. But in India, it's not even
Nope.
up to that.
No.
Okay.
No. It's very different. Again, this might have changed. Maybe they are doing it publicly right now. It's been 10 years since
A decade can change a country.
11 years, yeah. 11 years actually since I've been back to India. So I have no clue how it is right now. But before I came, it was very careful.
So if you know about India right now, please update us in the comments so we can follow what's going on.
Yeah. Or we might need to go there
Go and
sometime.
and observe before we do a mistake.
Yeah. And again, to be fair, usually the foreigners to India are the ones that do that. Kiss in public, hold hands in public in India. And because they are seen as tourists, I don't think it is taken that is
Seriously,
made,
or-
it's not taken that seriously. They are just they are in their own world. They can do whatever they want to. But within our culture, within Indians, I have not seen anyone do stuff like that. It is definitely inappropriate in public.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, if you know of your culture, share with us what type of things are okay and what type of things are not okay for PDA. So, and
We are happy that we could share a little bit of this aspect with each one of you and looking forward to learn more about others as well because it's so unique in each different country. So we hope to see you in the next episode.